Hi, I'm Brent-Anthony Johnson and welcome back to Basic Bass. Today we're going to cover a very scary concept that people just have talked to me about for years and years, and I've taught for decades, the concept of the major scale diatonic modes. Okay, it's a very, very easy concept once the name of the idea doesn't scare people away. Okay, so before we've talked about basic scale fingerings and things of that nature. For this particular exercise, I'm going to use the key of C because that's C major, and we'll get into that in a minute. But I'm going to employ the scale, which I call scale number 2, where I call it expanded, where you play 3 notes per scale, per string. You play 3 notes per string in this manner. So again, index finger C, 3rd fret A string, middle finger D, 5th fret A string, B, 7th fret A string, F, 3rd fret D string, middle finger G, 5th fret D string, pinky A, 7th fret D string, index finger on 4th fret of the G string, B, and it's octave. And the reason I'm going to use that is because we're going to use a lot of expansive information. We're going to play a lot of different pieces to this scale, and we'll break it down in as many ways as I possibly can just to make it make sense. So when you play the 7 notes of a major scale, you're encompassing the entire sort of chordal layout of what comprises the key of C, or any place where you start. We're going to use C in this particular example. So if you play the major scale, that is all of the diatonic information encompassed in that scale, and that scale is referred to in modal terms as Ionian. Now, I'm going to say this. When you've learned this information and you're talking to your friends about it, or you're playing in a band context or any musical context, please never refer to this as C Ionian. It is simply C major, and there's no problem with that. Those notes are C, D, E, F, G, A, B, and it's octave. You can call that octave C if you want to, doesn't matter. So, the modal system is made up of playing within the context of the scale from each degree of the scale. So this is the 1st degree, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 7th, etc. Okay? But what you're going to do is you're going to play a scale based upon the C major scale. So when you approach the 2nd note of that scale, which is D in the key of C major, you're going to use the same notes and not vary from that concept. So if you play the C scale from the 2nd degree, which is D in this case, it'll sound like this. That is referred to as D Dorian of C major. If you were to play from the 3rd degree using the same fingering as C major, which is E, that is going to be called E Phrygian. Phrygian being the scale, E being the note you're starting from. Now notice I moved my pinky from the octave, well actually the 9th, which is D, to play the E. Okay? So now, just as in the case of the major scale, you can also play the information from the lowest note. So E Phrygian in the key of C major can sound like this. And because it's a 4-string instrument, I would use that in order to not go out of the scale fingering, because I think the scale fingering is really important when you're learning a new concept like the modes. So in this particular fingering, now you're up to the F, 3rd fret of the D string, and notice you've only got 2 strings to sort of choose from here. And so it does sound like this. But notice at this point, here's your C, and I'm here. Okay? I just happen to know where the notes are, and it's a good thing to learn. So, and when we begin playing things like arpeggios, we're going to have to really rethink that information. So, once again, in the key of C, whereas this is E Phrygian, and again, I'm using the same notes as before. This is E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E. I'm using the same notes. E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E. And notice I'm keeping the fingering of the scale consistent, where it doesn't have to change. And so that is a piece of information that's very important to do, but it's using your ear to make sure that you hear the right notes and that you're playing the right notes. So therefore, this is F Lydian, which would sound like this. And that's the fourth degree of the C major scale. So if you're going back to the C major scale, the fourth degree, 1, 2, 3, 4, using the same fingering as a C major scale. And since you only have 2 strings to use here on a 4-string instrument, why not use the lowest F in this particular case, or the lowest note you can use, to give yourself 4 strings to play across? Why not? And notice that I'm not fingering an F major scale. I'm actually using all of the notes that are in the C major scale. So it's going to alter my fingering somewhat, that I'm not just playing blanket major scale fingerings. I'm actually listening to the notes. So that would be F Lydian of C major. Okay? The next note, G, is the 5th note of the scale, 5th note of the C major scale. And I could play it here, an octave lower. Why not? So that's called G Mixolydian of C major. So again, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Once again, here's your C that we started from, and see where you are here in your fingering. Whereas if you play that G, which is here, an octave lower, you can play the same notes. G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Right? Now you've got the 6th note of the scale, A, and those notes are A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A. And again, here's the C you started from, because everything that we're playing is in the key of C. So you'll hear the different fingerings, you'll hear the different scale sounds, but all of those 7 scales that we're going to play comprise the key of C major, and that's what that actually means. So you could play it here. As opposed to this seems to be more relatable, at least fingering wise, to your home base, which is C. And I'm playing the same notes, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, octave. Your 7th note of the scale of C major is B. It's T, right? Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. So here you have your do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti. Again, do, because they're both do. So you've got B. That is called B Phrygian. Nope, sorry. That is called B Locrian of the key of C major. Now, not all Locrians are B. That is the note we're starting from. It just happens to be the Locrian scale, as the rest of these are. And I'm going to be playing it on 1 string now. Again, here's your root note, but an octave below this B is here. And so those notes would be B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B. And that brings us right back to the tonic, C. There it is right there. So those 7 scales are what comprises the key of C major. So when you hear someone saying it's in the key of C, it probably has elements of each one of those 7 different scales. And so that's how that works in every key. But that's how that sounds. And so the way to practice that I just ran through the entire diatonic major modal system of the key of C. And as you break that down, as we will in a forthcoming lesson, we'll break that down into the chord shapes and sounds that comprise that key. Every key identified in the circle of fifths or the circle of fourths, if you go counterclockwise, have the same concept as far as it pertains to the major scale and what actually makes the key the key. So I'll be breaking that down further and talk about that more so as it relates to what makes it musical. And we'll be talking about things like chord scales and things of that nature employed on this instrument that really get the idea of it in your head because that's the information that we really need as a start. We need to break that down. The cool thing is that each key, as far as it pertains to the major scale diatonic modes, works the same way. So you can move this information from C to A, and it works the same way. Here we are on F in the key of A major, or sorry, F sharp in the key of A major, because that is something different than C major. We can actually play from this idea. From the 6th degree. Then we've got A flat or G sharp. And again, we've just covered Ionian, Dorian, Phrygian, Lydian, Mixolydian, Aeolian, and Locrian, but starting from the key of A. So we just talked about the key of A as well. Very briefly, once again, we'll be breaking all of that down. So it's a good way to start. But once again, it's all ear. Because as you see that when I got to the 6th degree, that F sharp, I know where a lower F sharp exists. And if I'm playing F sharp, this information, F sharp, G sharp, A, then I can play F sharp, G sharp, A. And from there, I can just... So notice from here, when I went to here on the B, 7th fret of the E string, I just employed the number 1 scale fingering that we talked about. Let alone G sharp. Right? And this is going to be very important when we get to things like arpeggios. I'll see you next lesson.